Hello.
Hi.
Please come immediately.
Who's at your house?
Immediately.
What's your address? Ma'am, I understand. I need to know your address.
I can't even imagine. It's not human being. And they're trusting Santa Claus actually. And he dressed in a red and he walked in and everybody happy. And all of a sudden it's like 100% is different what they were expecting.
嗨，大家好吗？欢迎收听黑天鹅。叮叮当，叮叮当。当街道响起这个旋律，商场出现挂满饰品的树，还有店家的产品开始推出限定包装和特惠的时候，我们就知道圣诞节即将来临，一年也快接近尾声了。世界各地的人们会在12月的这一天与亲朋好友们相聚，互赠礼物，一起庆祝爱和生命的永恒。而圣诞老公公可以说是最能代表这个节日的标志。他顶着圆肚，留着白胡子，和蔼可亲又人畜无害的形象深植人心。然而谁都没有料到，圣诞老人有一天会化身杀手，用子弹与烈火狠狠夺取一家人的性命。案件发生在美国加州西南部的科维纳，这个郊区城市距离洛杉矶市中心大约35公里，交通方便，教育资源等生活机能充足，加上地理位置靠近墨西哥，该地有特别多西班牙裔与拉丁裔的移民生根落脚。故事主人公一家正是其中之一，他们在当地安居乐业，却在2008年遇上众人难以想象的劫难。那一年的平安夜，他们依照惯例举办大型的圣诞派对，但一名装扮成圣诞老人的男子却不请自来，带着武器与自制的喷火枪，将这一家人幸福的生活无情地烧成灰烬。那么那一夜究竟发生了什么？又是谁会刻意选在圣诞佳节犯下如此恶性的罪行呢？让我们从2008年的12月说起。2008年圣诞节前一天12月24号傍晚大约5点，住在诺尔克雷斯特陆地的 Ortega 一家正忙进忙出，为稍后即将开始的圣诞派对做准备。派对的主办人是70岁的 Alicia 和80岁的 Joseph Ortega。自从家具喷漆事业退休后，他俩就一起住在这栋2层楼大约70平的房子里。而圣诞节是他们最喜欢的节日，因为每年的这个时候，他们膝下各自成家的5名子女都会带着孩子们回来团聚。做爷爷奶奶的，一年就这么一次能看到所有儿孙们齐聚一堂，他们当然是期待的不得了。随着众人陆陆续续抵达，原本空旷的房子也开始热闹起来。算上家族成员，还有一些来短暂拜访的邻居，屋内宾客的人数能轻易的来到30人。当晚 Ortega 家的盛宴是一如既往的美好，他们在缤纷的灯火中享受丰盛的晚餐，即使夜幕深了，一家人仍笑声不断。时间来到晚间11点20分，此时大人们正围着桌子玩扑克牌，孩子们则是各自找乐子去。他们有的在后院泳池玩水，有的在楼上玩电脑，有的就在客厅听爸爸妈妈聊天。突然间门铃响了，其中一个8岁的小孙女从窗户看见穿戴红衣红帽的圣诞老公公就站在门前，她立刻就兴奋地跑去开门。没想到门一开，砰砰2声巨响，直接就让女孩倒下了。这幅景象马上惊动了大人们，但他们还来不及从椅子起身，更多枪响已经接踵而至。面对这突如其来的袭击，所有人既困惑又恐慌。他们有些在家具后方或桌子底下躲藏，有些则冲向后院保护孩子。砰砰砰的响声就这么夹杂着人群的慌乱持续了一阵，接着橘红色的火光便从各个窗户窜出来，以迅雷不及掩耳的速度将整栋房子吞噬。此时成功逃脱的人们狂奔到隔壁邻居家求助，并借用他们的电话报警。
Okay. Ma'am, hold on. Is he at your house?
Yes, he's got this shooting.
What do you think his name is? Bruce?
His name is Bruce Pardo.
Okay, and who is he to you guys?
Excuse me?
Who is he to you?
He's my ex-brother-in-law. They're going through a divorce right now.
Okay.
With my sister.
Hold on 1 second, okay?
I don't know who else is alive.
I know, ma'am. Just stay on the phone with me, okay?
My whole family, there's 30 people, 25 people.
I know.
刚才大家听到的那通报案电话是由 Ortega 老夫妇最小的女儿 Leticia Yuzepolsky 所播出。他告诉派遣员，有个穿着圣诞装的男子进到他的父母家攻击他们全部人。 虽然他不是非常确定，但他认为攻击者很有可能就是他姐姐的前夫 Bruce Pardo。Ortega 家的火势烧得又猛又烈，15公尺高的火舌完全取代了房子的轮廓。原本宁静的陆地现在聚集着大批的警员和消防人员，听到声响的街坊邻居也纷纷走出门来关心。凌晨1点30分，消防人员成功将火势扑灭。伤亡人数确切为何，他们说还不知道，但按照家属的描述，目前共计有9个人下落不明。警方在与生还者的第一轮笔录中，得知首要嫌疑人 Bruce Pardo 是 Ortega 家的二女儿 Sylvia 的前夫。两人于2006年结婚，虽然并未生育儿女，但 Sylvia 有3个来自前段婚姻的孩子，因此他们时常因为财务以及子女养育的问题发生争吵。从今年的3月开始， Sylvia 就带着孩子回到爸妈家暂住。夫妻俩最终在12月18号，也就是在圣诞节的前一周正式离婚。根据法庭文件记录，婚房和车子都归 Bruce 所有，他未来也无需负担任何赡养费。但是法院要求他将结婚时的钻戒和2人一起养的秋田犬归还给女方，并支付女方1万元美金。双方的律师表示，尽管夫妻俩在听证会上有过争执，但总体来说，这个判决对 Bruce 算是有利。Bruce 后续也没有表现出任何的异状。听到这里，警方认为这位前夫确实具有犯案动机，但凶手是否真的就是他，还有待商榷。毕竟，若只是因为不满离婚而挟怨报复，他有至于对全家人甚至是年纪这么小的孩子开火吗？无论如何，他们的当务之急是先找到 Bruce， 将他带进警局问话。而谁都没有料到，几个小时后 Bruce 就会以最令人讶异的方式自己送上门来。12月25号凌晨3点多，警局接获通报，科维纳以北大约50公里处的郊区有一名男子遭到枪击。报案人名叫 Brad Pardo， 他说他刚从外地回到家，一进门就看见自己的弟弟倒在沙发上，已经明显失去生命体征。警方到场后，确认了死者的身份为45岁的 Bruce Pardo， 他仰躺在客厅的沙发上，头部有着明显的枪伤。由于遗体的大腿位置和客厅的地板上各有一支武器，警方认为 Bruce 有可能是遭到歹徒攻击。不过接下来监视人员却在遗体上观察到许多不寻常的痕迹。首先是 Bruce 的伤势，他的手和大腿皆有烧伤，尤其是他的左手臂伤得特别重，除了烧灼的面积很大以外，肉眼还直接可见有红色的物质与伤口融在一起。这个融化的红色物质也出现在他的裤子与鞋子上。从照片中我们可以看出来，这个物质与 Bruce 脚踝残留的那一圈布料颜色非常接近。再来是 Bruce 身上携带的物品，监视人员在他身上找到一张前往爱荷华州的机票和17000元美金。钞票大部分被用保鲜膜包着缠在他的腿上，一部分则被放在可除物的腰带里。如果歹徒是入室抢劫将他杀害，这钱他们怎么可能不拿？以上这些证据不仅显示出 Bruce 的死并不单纯，也更加深了他与前妻一家人事件的关联。但在尸检报告出炉以前，话还不能说得太早。警方知道他们必须深入了解 Bruce 这个人，才有可能得到答案。结果这一查下去不得了，警员们差点连命都丢了。经过了解， Bruce 并不跟哥哥同住，警方因此推测他是驾车来到哥哥家的。于是他们拿着 Bruce 的车钥匙在房子附近一台一台的试，看哪一台车子对钥匙有反应。没一会儿，他们就在街口外找到了与钥匙对应的蓝色轿车。当警员打开副驾驶座的车门，首先映入眼帘的是一坨红色的布料，底下堆着礼物包装纸、水管和像是手提袋的东西。警员很快地察觉这坨布料有被烧过的痕迹，红红白白又黑黑的，跟刚才 Bruce 身上残留的布料很像。富有经验的警探见状，立刻要所有人远离这台车，并请求防暴小组支援，因为他们认为这堆物品很诡异，很像是刻意放置的陷阱。果不其然，在防暴小组试图将物品移除的时候，车子爆炸了，熊熊烈火立刻将车子烧得面目全非。万幸的是，这场爆炸没有造成任何人员伤亡。不过 Bruce 这鲜明的恶意已经成功燃起警方的好奇之心。他究竟是个怎么样的人？为什么会连警方都要暗算，而且完全不在意是否会伤及无辜？调查报告显示 ，Bruce 没有任何犯罪前科或精神病史， 但过去1年来，他的生活发生了许多重大事件，很可能是影响他行为的因素之一。45岁的 Bruce 拥有电气工程硕士学位，过去他曾在 NASA 的喷射推进实验室工作。2008年7月以前，他都在美国一间专门制造军用雷达的电子公司担任工程师，每年的年薪高达12万2千美金，考虑通膨换算成台币的话，大约是现在的550万。Bruce 的邻居表示，他平时虽然安静，但很友善，不太像是会做出伤天害理之事的人。然而私底下 Bruce 的为人却和他表面的形象大相径庭，这一点尤其体现在他与前妻 Sylvia 的婚姻上。根据法庭记录， Bruce 与 Sylvia 于2004年相识，起初他们俩相处得很好， Bruce 也不排斥 Sylvia 在前2段婚姻所生的孩子，于是两人于2006年成婚，并一起在加州的蒙特罗斯买了房子。但好景不长，结婚才没几个月，夫妻俩就在孩子的抚养上出现歧见。Bruce 表示他不愿意负责，他要 Sylvia 自己一个人负担孩子所有的花用。除此之外， Bruce 还规定 Sylvia 每个月要放钱进去2人的共同账户，他禁止 Sylvia 动用该账户的钱，房子的贷款和水电费他也要 Sylvia 出一半。当时 Sylvia 在花卉公司担任行政助理，年薪大约3万1千美金，仅是 Bruce 的1/4，所以这些要求对他而言实在是难以负荷。没有人知道为什么高收入的 Bruce 会要求妻子遵循这样的财务分配，大家也认为这对夫妻会走不下去，势必跟这事脱不了关系。但其实 Sylvia 会提出离婚，还真的不全是因为钱，而是她意外发现了一个 Bruce 深藏多年的秘密。Sylvia 跟她的婆婆，也就是 Bruce 的妈妈，感情一直都很好。事实上，婆婆喜欢她，甚至比喜欢自己儿子还要多。2007年末，某天他们婆媳在聊天的时候，婆婆跟 Sylvia 提起 Bruce 在外面其实有一个残疾的儿子，她说这个小孩是 Bruce 与前任女友所生。2001年，当时他们同居，有一天女方出门买菜，特别交代 Bruce 照看1岁的儿子，没想到 Bruce 顾着看电视，没注意到儿子翻过围栏跑去泳池玩水了。结果等他发现的时候，儿子已经溺水命危。在紧急送医治疗后，儿子虽然捡回一命，但他也因为脑部严重受损而终身瘫痪。孰料 Bruce 在得知这个消息的隔天，就包袱款款离开了女友。他不但一走了之，后续还跟女友与儿子完全断绝联系，逼得人家女生告上法庭，要求他帮忙负担医药费。女友的律师表示，当时孩子的医疗费用已经来到34万美金，这还不包含后续的照护和可能会有的手术费用。最后法院判 Bruce 要支付女友10万美元，但在那之后 Bruce 就没有再支付任何的赡养费，也没有再跟他们母子有过联系。或许 Bruce 是认为10万美元足以买断儿子的一生，自己也算尽了人父的责任，所以他对母子2人不闻不问，他压根没有觉得哪里不对。但令 Sylvia 最不能接受的是 Bruce 这些年来明明没有抚养过这个孩子，却一直在报税单上将他列为抚养人来减免税金。当 Sylvia 拿着这件事与 Bruce 对峙， Bruce 冷漠的态度让他的心彻底凉了，因此他提出离婚申请，并在隔年3月正式与他分居。接下来的几个月，两人都各自找了律师跑法院谈条件，这中间的一来一往我就不细说，大家只需要记得 Bruce 在2008年7月底因为谎报工时涉嫌诈欺而遭到公司解雇，丢了他那几百万年薪的好工作。接下来他在法庭上要求 Sylvia 支付他赡养费，他说他财务有困难，就快要还不起卡债与房贷。然而法官没有动摇，依然判他每个月要支付 Sylvia 1785美金的赡养费，这让 Bruce 非常不服，于是两方继续谈判，最终就是我们稍早提到圣诞节前的那场听证会。12月18号 Bruce 拿到了房子和车子，但要一次性支付 Sylvia 1万美元，而 Sylvia 这边则得到结婚钻戒和家里的狗狗。那一天 Bruce 的妈妈也在场，但她选择跟媳妇坐在一起，而不是自己的儿子旁边。综合以上的线索和目前已知的物证，警方推断 Bruce 极有可能就是凶手，而12月25号出炉的尸检报告更是直接巩固了这个推测。
Pardo was severely injured during that explosion. He suffered third-degree burns on both arms. It also appears that the Santa Claus suit that he was wearing did melt onto his body.
法医判定 Bruce 的死因为自强，他的呼吸道里有碳末沉积物，手臂上的伤口更是检验出圣诞装烧熔的聚酯纤维， 可见案发当时假扮成圣诞老人的就是 Bruce 没有错。警方后续搜查了 Bruce 的住家，他们发现他的房子完全是座军火库，除了有燃油桶和制作加压器的说明书以外，屋内还有多把武器和为数众多的弹药。警方随后取得 Bruce 的枪支购买记录，并讶异地发现他购入第一把武器的时间竟然是在2008年的6月，而且在那之后的连续5个月，他都定期回去同一间店报到，购买同样型号的武器，一共买了5支。这边我们停一会儿，解释一下为什么这件事十分重要。根据加州的法律，个人在30天内只能购买1支手枪或半自动步枪，超过这个数量的话将会违法。而 Bruce 非常清楚这一点，因此他每购入1支武器就会耐心等待30天，才再去买下1支。听到这里，大家可能还会觉得，不就买枪吗？这不能证明他有伤人的意图啊。但我们接着来看这张警方在他家找到的购物清单，他前3行写着西格绍尔，也就是作案用的武器、备用的子弹还有礼物。接着我们看第4行，上面写着 suit， 这个字可以用来指西装或成套的服装。那 Bruce 要买的到底是哪一种呢？来，我们让经营服装店的设计师阿姨来为我们解答。
You know, when I first heard it, I knew he was wearing a Santa suit, and I knew who he was because I had seen him, but more than one time. So, but I didn't think anything of it until they were saying that he used the Santa suit and he put stuff in the Santa suit, like guns and whatever he used. And then it kind of freaked me out, thinking that maybe he had already planned this for a long time.
经营服装店的设计师告诉警方 ，Bruce 9月份就向他提出制作圣诞老人装的请求，而且还特别要求他把衣服做大一点。当时阿姨不疑有他，毕竟 Bruce 195公分，体重接近125公斤，宽松的衣服对魁梧的他来说的确是比较好穿。没有想到这些加大的空间，最后会让他拿去放武器和弹药。事实证明 Bruce 的复仇计划早从案发的前6个月就已经成型，而且他非常的缜密，除了储备足够的火力，他连要怎么顺利执行都想好了。他知道他只要装扮成圣诞老人，前妻一家绝对不会将他拒于门外。警方接连几天这么顺藤摸瓜，已经将 Bruce 的复仇计划摸出大致的雏形。原本以为接下来只要等受害者名单确定，全案就能落幕，没想到在案发的第4天12月28号，科维纳以西约半个钟头车程的格伦戴尔市，有居民向警方通报了一台可疑的休旅车。他们说这辆车从圣诞节前就停在那儿了。由于该社区的居民几乎都彼此认识，他们对于突然冒出来的陌生车辆感到特别警觉。警方到达现场后，将车牌输入系统一查，惊讶地发现这台车的租借人竟然是 Bruce Pardo。只是他们不明白为什么他租的车会停在这里，也怀疑这会不会又是 Bruce 安好的另一个陷阱。无论如何，已有前车之鉴的警员们决定先把防暴小组请来再说。庆幸的是，一切都是虚惊一场，这辆车没有机关，倒是装载了很多物资。警方在车上发现了好几套干净的衣服、食物和水，一台桌上型电脑，一本墨西哥的旅游指南，还有一桶汽油。他们推测这辆车是 Bruce 在行动结束后准备逃亡用的。至于为什么是停在这里而不是他自己家，警方的推测是，除了前妻 Bruce 还有另外想要复仇的对象，而那个人就是帮 Sylvia 打离婚官司的律师 Scott Nord， 因为这辆车就停在这名律师家的附近。
You know, we found another car associated with the crime that was rented by Mr. Pardo parked in the city of Glendale. What we've determined is that car was parked within several hundred feet of Mr. Pardo's ex-wife's divorce attorney's home.
梳理完 Bruce 的动机和筹备过程，现在我们来还原事发当天的情况，并解释一下为什么原本打算好要逃亡的 Bruce 最后会选择自我了结。2008年12月24号 Bruce 穿着圣诞老公公的衣服，开着他租来的蓝色轿车前往科维纳。抵达以后，他拉着一个小推车走向前妻的父母家，推车上面载着他自己做的喷火装置。不过 Bruce 事前已经先用包装纸把它给包好包漂亮了，所以现在这东西看上去就像是个大礼物而已。接着他按了按门铃，果然等到 Ortega 的一个孙女蹦蹦跳跳的来开门。这个8岁的孙女叫 Katrina Yuzepolsky， 是稍早911报案人 Leticia 的大女儿。门一开， Bruce 就对 Katrina 扣了2次扳机。 万幸的是，虽然 Katrina 跌倒在地，但子弹只打到她的脸，没有伤到要害。原本在桌边的 Leticia 听到女儿喊说圣诞老人来了，便从椅子起身要去拿摄影机，而这一个举动成为她生还的关键，因为下一秒更多的子弹就朝着坐在桌边的大人们飞来。整间屋子在刹那间陷入一团混乱。Leticia 此时什么也顾不得了，她立刻冲向女儿，一把将她抱起，奔出门外，并带着其他的孩子们逃跑。这时屋内的 Bruce 拆开礼物，拿出喷火器，开始在房屋的各处点火，但他没有预料到家中的2个壁炉正在燃烧。当他用加压的喷火器一喷，火焰反而扑回来，爬上他的手，将他的圣诞装直接烧融，而布料就这么跟他的手臂肌肤化在一起。火势扩大的速度大概是超出了 Bruce 的预期，所以他并没有久留。他迅速地脱下圣诞装，跳上他的蓝色轿车逃逸。当时有邻居目击到这台车飞速地开走，但没有人认出驾驶的脸。幸好 Leticia 观察细微，在报案当时就将 Bruce 的名字提供给警方。按照计划， Bruce 的下一站是到格伦戴尔换车，接着前往墨西哥，或是按照机票所写的前往爱荷华州。但他现在手上和腿上都有2度和3度的烧伤，那疼痛的程度不难想象。警方推测，大约就是在那个时候， Bruce 决定要放弃原本的逃跑计划，先开车前往哥哥家。最终他因为不堪伤口疼痛，也不愿意面对接下来的司法制裁，才决定自我终结。回到科维纳这边， Ortega 家的火势相当凶猛，80名消防员共花了1个多小时才将它扑灭。当天渐渐亮起来，现场的惨况也愈发清晰。消防人员与警员在残破的房屋内穿梭，他们试着要找人，但放眼望去那一片焦黑，他们只能仰赖搜救犬来辨认什么是什么。由于遗体毁损严重，接下来的10几天，监视人员得用牙科记录和 DNA 才有办法辨识每一位受害者的身份。原本行踪不明的9人也确定全数罹难。他们分别是 Ortega 老夫妇 Alicia 和 Joseph， 他们的大儿子 James 和他的妻子 Teresa， 二儿子 Charles 和他的妻子 Sherry， 大女儿 Alicia 和他17岁的儿子 Michael Ortiz， 最后是二女儿，也是 Bruce 的前妻 Sylvia Pardo。Ortega 老夫妇的小女儿 Leticia 当年37岁，成为 Ortega 家族直系血亲中唯一的生还者。她8岁的女儿，也是脸部中弹的 Katrina， 在紧急送医治疗后情况稳定，医生表示几个月后她就能完全康复。案发当时 Sylvia 的3个孩子也在现场，但最后他们成功逃脱，幸免于难。这个好消息让众人悲喜交加，他们一方面庆幸着孩子们没事，一方面也心疼起这几个孩子们的未来。在制作这集影片之前，我给 Sylvia 的儿子 Sal 发了讯息，告诉他我会谈论这个案子，也想关心他和家人这几年过得好不好。他回复我说他愿意分享他的经历，因此我们约了一天视讯，一起聊聊这个事件是如何影响他的人生。那在进入访谈以前，我还是为大家简单介绍一下 Sal 的背景，梳理几个人物的关系，这样等会儿对话出现一些人名的时候，大家会比较好理解。Sal Castillo 全名 Salvador Castillo， 是 Sylvia 与第一任丈夫所生的儿子。他的爸爸在1988年的一场车祸中丧生，从那个时候开始，妈妈 Sylvia 就一个人带着他和大他1岁的姐姐 Selena 生活。在遇到 Bruce 以前， Sylvia 还有过一任丈夫，2人育有一个女儿 Amanda。 这段婚姻最终在2003年结束，当时这个最小的女儿才刚出生。在这样的背景下，他们一路走来已经是相当的不容易，而本案的发生对 Sal 和他的手足而言，无非又是一次巨大的打击。当时才20岁的他是怎么看待这一切的呢？我们来听听他怎么说。
I know it's a little bit difficult, but can you take us back to 2008? Could you tell us a bit about where you were at that time?
So I'll play it out. So it was already later at night. We have a custom, like I said, for our family to come over. But one of the other customs that I haven't shared yet is that our neighbor, he would dress as Santa Claus. And my aunts and uncles would give him the presents beforehand, and he would put it in a bag. They would give him the presents for their children, and then he'd come in and he would have presents for all myself and my cousins and nephews from their parents, but it's from Santa because they gave it to him like the week before or the day before. So he would come and he'd dress as Santa, have a big bag, and then we'd sit and he'd pass out all the presents. And that was our tradition. That's why Bruce also knew of this. He knew of that tradition because he was there when he saw that tradition. So that's how he knew he can get in the house. Because if we saw him, we wouldn't let him in the house. So that's how he came up with. Remember, I said he had about a whole year to plan. So he came dressed as Santa Claus, and so then, you could see it in the news that it was like my little cousin who opened the door, and then I was on the side. So I was one of the first ones to see him, and then I could see through. After a couple seconds, I could see that it was him, and then there was about a moment of silence. He didn't say anything, and then but he was already inside of the house by that time because we let him in, just assuming that maybe it was the neighbor, of course. And then after about a few seconds of him not saying anything, he immediately just pulled out guns from his jacket in both hands and just started shooting just aimlessly. I didn't even know what it was. It was almost like poppers, like it was like party, like this party sorts of thing, like where you set them off and they're like fireworks almost. Um, so after a few seconds of realizing like what he was doing, yeah, I immediately just ran to the back window because I saw him shooting. And then, so from there, I immediately ran to the back window and I broke the window and then jumped through the window without even thinking.
Well, actually, you recognized him, right? You saw
Yeah,
him and you recognized him that
he had shooting glasses on. Like when you go to the shooting range, you put certain
the
glasses.
clear
He
one.
had those glasses. So through that, I was able to see, and my mom was there too, and she herself said, Bruce, like just questioning, like Bruce, why are you here? And then yeah, so he was only standing there for a few seconds before. For years after that, I couldn't stand seeing any Santa Clauses. Like we were not like allowed to have, not allowed, but we just didn't want to have any Santas in our homes. We avoided, and just seeing Santa Clauses um, just was so many flashbacks for so many years. Even to this day, there's certain times where there's a certain Santa that just uh, that just gives me a really bad feeling. Naturally, I'm okay with it now, but for years it was really hard to see any Santa Claus.
This case is, well, this case actually hit home because so many young adults and young kids were affected. And it's particularly hard for you because you already lost your father and then you have a stepdad and then this. I just want to ask you how you process everything. How do you process the loss and the grief that is so big?
So since we're all different, me and my family members, everyone will process it different. But ultimately, it comes down to only two things, and that's how eventually it's the same. So even though I come from a different background than my cousins, and from even other people that have suffered tragedies, um, I can say two things are in common no matter what, and that's number one is family and support. So even after everything happened, we still had our other family members, even though we had lost 9 of our family members, and it was most of our parents. So yeah, most of my cousins had lost both their parents, um, or one or both their parents and our grandparents. So we still had each other and other family members. So that's no matter what, that's one way that guaranteed how we got through is we still had each other. And then time. So those are, even though I can say over time I coped with it in other ways, those are the two main ways that's most common for how we get over it, is that we had family and time.
Can you share something about your mom and your family that you remember the most?
Whether it's talking about my mom or my grandparents or any of my family members, the one thing that we learned from them is that time together is the most precious thing. I can't really say like one instance, but just the fact that we did so many things together as a family, like whether it was birthday parties or we went to summer camping trips as traditions. We had a lot of traditions that we would do. So just having traditions, and then eventually as we get older, we keep with those traditions. Like it things were different, but it was something that basically is what made me be able to cope with all of this, is that we had such a strong family background that I always said that he the reason why he did this was because of he was being divorced, and he was welcomed into the family originally, even though everybody thought he was strange. He was welcomed in regardless because he's who my mom had chosen. So once he was ousted from the family, once he was like cut contact, he wanted to break our family apart. And that's why he did this, because since he couldn't have it, he wanted to destroy us. But even after that happened, within days, like I knew that he tried to destroy us, but it's not possible to destroy our family because of what we went through for so many years before of togetherness and traditions, because that's how strong our family like love was, and that's how strong we were together. So that that basically is like what I can share.
Can I ask you one more time about why you agreed to talk to me? Because just now
Yeah.
I didn't hit the record button, so oh, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry about
sure.
that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
why do you agree to talk to me?
So you messaged me, you found me, and I thought, wow, this is somebody who found me through like research. So I thought, you must be a good researcher because nobody's ever messaged me so much about this. Maybe I think one person did years ago. And so I was naturally going to say no, of course. I didn't want to, but your message wasn't pushy, so it was like it was a sentimental message, so that's one reason why I looked into it. Eventually I decided to do this video and conversation with you because of two reasons. One, because it's in a different language, and it's not for really the US, because the US have already heard so much and they hear so many things every day. So this is for a different part of the globe who might not understand some of these crazy things that happen in the United States, of like gun violence, and like how this, things to this like nature is, it's more westernized problems of gun violence. So it's just the fact that it's in a different language, that it's to help other people understand. So I think the more I can have people learn of my family's legacy and learn that it's possible to cope after such tragedy. I mean, if I can reach parts of the world that wouldn't have been reached, I think that's one main benefit. And the other reason why is I looked at your videos, and specifically, I didn't really look so much at what your video was. I wanted to see what the comments were, because I wanted to see who was commenting, because I know the comment section on videos can be horrific. And so seeing your comments, obviously I can't understand it because it's in Mandarin. So I put it in the translator. And then through all your videos, I saw so many good comments saying, appreciating you for your work, appreciating that you didn't focus on the violence, but rather you focused on the family members and the people that were hurt, involved in the tragedy. And then even some people had said that they had cried watching your videos. So that to me said that what you're saying in your videos really is touching, and it's not just for views, it's more to actually really spread the positive word on what we can do after and how to cope, and just help people understand like how can we live in a world like this, but still have a positive outlook. And so those are the two reasons why. Different part of the world, and then your viewers are viewers that I can actually reach. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much to anybody who is watching this and is currently experiencing heartbreak or maybe the loss of loved ones. What would you say to them?
Yeah. So we're all in different stages. Some of us might have just come from a tragedy. Some of us maybe know other people of a tragedy. And unfortunately, some of us might have something coming up that this we didn't have no idea. But for those that are recently coming from something, just be close with those that you know have your best interest in heart, and ignore other things, ignore so many other news stories, and ignore other negativity. Just really focus on the ones that you're closest to, and stay in contact with them, be open, eat with them, have meals with them, spend a lot of time with them. And um, just know that time is really the main thing that will eventually get you through this. So you just take it day by day. You don't have to think of what's going to happen in 3 months from now. You just get day by day. Don't worry about tomorrow. And if you don't feel like doing anything today, yeah, it's okay. Just you don't have to worry about the next day or anything. Just day by day. For those of you that might know that had somebody that had something happen to them, you have to be very cautious on how you approach it. You just lend your support without asking what happened, without asking for details. You just simply give support and say that if you need anything, we're here. And just be aware that it's a very emotional time. If somebody's really rude to you a week or 2 weeks after something happened, it's not because of you, it's because of there's so much emotion that they can't handle it, and they might attack you, or they might say things that they don't really mean, but it's just because it's so raw. It's hard. So that's why, you have to be very cautious of how you approach things. And unfortunately, for somebody who might eventually go through such a tragic event, I would say be aware, really aware of the people you're around. If you really feel something is off, if you feel like something might do something, then you should voice it to other people around you, maybe authorities, and don't wait. If you really think that something might happen, uh, don't be quiet about it. And if you have suspicions, you a lot of times those suspicions are correct. So I had suspicions. I had a lot. I even followed him one day, just to see what he was doing, because I just had suspicions that there was something that wasn't going on right. But none of us called the cops on him. None of us said anything to go check his house. But I did have suspicions. So yeah, for anybody that it sometimes it can be preventable. So just be very cautious and aware of who you're with, and all the surroundings.
Right. So true. So true. All right. Well, right now it's almost New Year. Is anything is there anything that you're looking forward to? Or
Yes,
currently you're working on something?
yeah. So me and my wife, we are planning. Now we're going back to the U.S. with a different perspective. We've been here, we loved it, and now we're ready to start our home life, and not so much because we love to travel, but now we just want to have a home, and we're bringing our dog that we picked up from here in Philippines. We got a Chihuahua while we were here, so we're getting his little passport. So we're really excited just to be back and see our family again, and just start our life fresh for this year, which is going to be different than before, because I feel like we let go of a lot of things that you don't know that you need to let go of. So yeah, just looking for a whole it's really a fresh start again in the US. So I'm excited, very excited.
That's cool. Well, on behalf of my viewers, and this is sincere, comes from my heart, I wish you all the best. And I hope that life in the US will be just as great as you want, as you expected. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Sal.
在这个事件中，身心最受创的莫过于所有的孩子们。他们当中有2个失去妈妈，其他13个则完全成为孤儿。不过，即使面对这么大的伤痛，这么大的仇恨，这些生还者和受害者家属们依然坚强地彼此扶持，不允许让单一个人的恶意阻碍他们的幸福。2018年，18岁的 Katrina 站出来在镜头前为帕克兰枪击案的受害者发声。她用她的经历鼓舞他人，希望提升大众对枪支暴力的意识。她的妈妈 Leticia 也创建了一个网站叫 Leticia's Hope， 她以部落格的方式将自己的心路历程写成文字，致力帮助同样在面对悲伤和困境的人。在研究这个案子的时候，我看到一些男权运动人士为此案的凶手辩护。他们说 Bruce 是一个被逼到绝境面临破产的男人，但他身边的女人却个个都想将他吃干抹净。这个说法乍听之下好像有理，但是他们却忽略了很重要的一点， Bruce 的财务问题并非是他的伴侣所造成的。首先，他的儿子瘫痪是在他的监护下发生，女方向他提出告诉合情合理。再来，如果他不愿意在养育孩子上支持 Sylvia， 那他应当在结婚之前就和妻子做好协议，或是就不要选择结婚。最后是他失业的原因，雇主并没有非法解雇他，而是他谎报工时犯了法，公司才对他做出这样的处置。后续 FBI 为 Bruce 做了行为分析，他们认为他有自恋型人格障碍与强迫症，而案发当时他的心理健康已严重失衡，才会将他过去至今所累积的不满全部发泄在前妻身上。我相信 Bruce 有他的痛苦，他遭遇的挫折像是小孩出意外、离婚和失去工作，这些肯定是带给他非常多的折磨，但这是否就能合理化他滥杀无辜的行为？我想这是整个社会，也是我们每个人都可以试着思辨的问题。最后我想引用一句 Leticia 在部落格上放的，也是美国作家兼诗人 Maya Angelou 所说的话，来作为这集影片的结尾。 Nothing can dim the light that shines from within， 没有任何事物能熄灭由内在散发的光。希望大家都能记得，发生在我们身上的事不应该定义我们，我们才能定义我们。人生可能会有许多无法掌控的事情发生，但我们可以选择怎么面对，而这道光芒，这个决定，任何人任何事物都无法动摇。今天的节目到这边就结束了，如果你有什么想法，也欢迎在频道的下方留言，跟大家一起讨论。我们下期节目见，拜拜。